Hello everybody, Ashlee Norman here for BTC University. You can find me on Instagram at Ashlee Norman Hair. Today we're going to be teaching a technique called reverse balayage. Basically what we're going to be doing is adding back depth and dimension into an overly processed blonde and doing a full K18 hair repair service. So follow along. What is reverse balayage and why is it so relevant right now? Well, everything that we're seeing is all about teddy bear blondes, expensive brunettes. Think of, for example, Sophia Richie hair, right? What we're seeing is lived in, beautiful, sun-kissed hair that has controlled warmth. I know, gold, right? So we've been seeing so many ashy blonde trends, and now we're working into these warmer tones. How do we add that gold without making it brassy? How do we create depth and dimension that has the perfect gradients while still maintaining a bright money piece and bold ombre ends? I'm here to answer all of those questions at the same time as rebuilding the bonds in the hair, both the disulfide bonds and the peptide change. Let's get into it. The success of today's color transformation is really going to start with our K18 treatment line. So this is the steps in order of how we're going to use it. First, we're going to do a chelator and then the mist, shampoo, then we're going to be doing a couple of masks before and after our toner, and then finally with our oil. So let me walk you through the system and teach you why each step is so important and what it does individually. The first step that we're going to do is we're going to be using our chelator. What is a chelator? The main thing that this does is it cleans up the top surface of the hair of the impurities from daily living. So the best way to think of it is like, think of Pac-Man, right? You've got Pac-Man going along. He's going to come in and eat up all those impurities on the top surface of the layer of the hair. Now, the thing that's really unique and different about the K18 chelator and other brands is that you can put your color directly on top of it. So you don't have to do a whole additional service that's going to add time to your service. Meaning you don't have to spray this on, then shampoo it off or let it process and then start your color service. This is much faster. So it's almost creating these little cages around those metals and those minerals so they don't interact with your chemical service and create chemical catastrophes. This is going to be your hero if you deal with well water, box dye, or you have clients who live in buildings with old pipes. Trust me, this is going to really save a lot of issues that can happen when it comes to coloring hair. After we finish spraying on our chelator, the next thing that we're going to do directly on top of that is spray on our K18 mist. This step is super crucial, and this is one that you do not want to skip. Now remember, back in the day when we used to do tint backs, basically depositing color back over previously lined hair, we were trained to use porosity equalizer sprays so the color deposited more evenly. Basically, what those porosity equalizers did was cosmetically fill in those potholes so you don't get uneven dark to light saturation in more porous spots of the hair. However, that cosmetic fix can rinse off along with the color. So what we have to do is permanently repair the hair so the color has somewhere to permanently live. Healthy hair colors better, hence using our mist. Now, the number one question I had when I first was introduced with K18 is, how is this better than a bond builder? Well, this does more than just fixing the disulfide bonds. This also addresses the peptide chains, which is even more important. I really want to explain to you exactly what I mean by that, so follow along. Typically, when we're talking about treating the hair, we're really focused on the aftercare that is applied post the color service. But if we can avoid the damage before, then it's much healthier in the long run. Meaning, for example, doing basically preventative health care rather than just treating the illness. So that's what the mist really does. Now, again, explaining the difference between a bond builder that's focused on the disulfide bonds and what this actually does is so important and such the aha moment. Inside the cortex of the hair, there's billions and billions of these peptide chains. So this here is a simplistic drawing of our peptide chain. Now these little S's, these represent cysteine residue. The cysteine residue is electrostatically connected here by this little bridge. So this little bridge is actually what the disulfide bond is, but this bond forms as a result of the peptide chain. So if the peptide chain isn't there, the disulfide bond is irrelevant. So the fact that the mist here actually repairs both, let's say for example, the X and the Y axis of the hair, that's what we mean about the permanent repair. Going back to this idea of preventative health care, let's say, this I found really interesting. So what happens when it comes to breakage inside of a chemical service is something called keratin hydrolysis. So basically, when you've got this high alkalinity, which is going to be within your lighteners and your permanent colors, and then you have your oxidizer, which is your developers or your peroxides, that environment creates these swelling agencies that you can see the fragmentation in a dry state versus within this chemical reaction, the huge difference. Now, what this essentially is doing is it's releasing more alkalinity. So when the hair breaks down, it then becomes almost toxic to itself, creating this domino effect of this explosion. So if we can minimize the risk of keratin hydrolysis using the K18 hair mist, the hair is going to be healthier in the long run rather than just trying to repair it post-chemical service. Spray this on 4 minutes and it's good to go. Do not forget the mist. So now that we understand our first 2 steps with the K18 hair treatment, let's get into the first application of color that we're going to do. The technique is going to be fairly simple in terms of what we need to do is isolate the blonde that we want to keep around the hairline and the top crown sections. Then we need to add back a base color in between our highlights and start pulling down some lowlights at varying levels. Now, this is going to be a little different than a traditional tint back. In a traditional tint back, you would gloss first with a deposit only, then go in with your secondary permanent color. However, if we were to gloss down the whole head, we would lose all of our dimension and create one all over darker color. We don't want to do this. So what we're actually going to do with our base color and lowlights is use what I call a hybrid color. So we're going to be using a permanent color diluted with a 4.5 pH conditioning agent, which I'll show you in a minute, the formulation. After the first application of color, then we're going to be doing our shadow root and our gloss with our demi-permanent. This right here is our head sheet of how we're going to place that first color application. We're going to be doing zigzag teasy lights outlining the nape area. Then we're going to be doing baby lights along the front hairline using my signature Hairline Shuffle technique, already filmed here on the BTC University. Now you get to see that same technique on a live model. Next, we're going to be doing the zigzag teasy lights in basically a mohawk section across the top. What this is going to create is interlocking triangles of highs and lows. This is such a unique technique and it's very blended, surprisingly, even though it looks chunky in the nature of the pickup. Now that you understand the head sheet, let's go ahead and bring in our live model. We're going to be starting our first color application on our gorgeous model here, Anastasia. She has a traditional highlight and she's looking to add back depth and dimension for a more low maintenance root, as well as bolden up her money piece around her face while still maintaining some bright ombre through the mid-lengths and the ends. Same time, we're also going to be adding back some more gold tonality. As you can see, she's a little warmer through here and a little cooler through here. So what we want to create is more controlled warmth throughout. Our first 2 steps are going to be our chelator. We're going to be doing basically 4 traditional quadrants, and then within each quadrant 10 sprays, waiting 4 minutes for that to process. Next, we're going to be adding on top of that our mist. Same exact application, 4 quadrants, 10 sprays per quadrant, 4 minutes. Now we have also done a consultation using my level finder. You can find this on my website. I custom manufacture this to help when it comes to consultation, As you can see, she's close to between a 6 and a 7 on her base. The goal is to match her natural, so when her root grows out, it's a seamless grow out.